Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 12 of the Steam Deck podcast, Flip Screen Games weekly podcast, all about Valve's hot new handheld. I'm your host this week, Stephen Radford, and I'm joined by fellow Steam Deck enthusiast, Max Wright.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, it feels like only yesterday we were talking about video games. So if you don't know, Max was on Flip Screen Games podcast, our sister show yesterday. We spoke all about Unreal Engine 5. Is that the future of games engines? We spoke about scary games like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, that kind of stuff. It was a good episode, so go check that out as well. It's probably going to be out by the time this is out. If not, it'll be out tomorrow. I'm really not sure what our schedule is while Pete's away. It's just all over the place. So Pete will be back next week. If you're not aware, he got married. He's in Jamaica at the moment, enjoying his honeymoon. Unfortunately, we couldn't join him in Jamaica.
I had to refund my ticket because I already misunderstood what he meant by can you cover me? While yeah.
It was a real shame. Like, I was really looking forward to jetting off to Jamaica and doing some episodes of the podcast on like location, I guess.
And playing Steam Deck as well on the beach.
Yeah, I see. So Pete will be back next week, and he'll be telling us all about how he probably didn't play any games while he was away, because who plays games when they're on their honeymoon? But you know, who knows? Maybe he did. We got a good episode this week. There's a bunch of stuff that came out. Steam Deck's UI is replacing Big Picture mode on PC finally. Looks like SteamOS Imaging is coming, so you'll be able to install SteamOS on other computers. And there was a customization menu that we found in SteamOS, so we're going to talk all about that. But before we do, I just need to thank our Patreon producers for the month of October. They are Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valens, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Mary Berry, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you so much for all of your support. We couldn't do this without you. And if you want to get involved, head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames. But before we do get into digging into the news, I want to ask you some questions, Max, because I think you got your Steam Deck later than me. I'm interested in like your experience with it, how you like what model did you get for starters, like what are you playing on it, any tips and tricks, that kind of thing.
I got mine probably about 5 weeks ago. I pre-ordered in, I want to say March. No, I want to say May. I think it was May. I thought, I'll do why not? I'll put the £4 down. Nothing is it, and I can just sort of decide against it. And I went back and forth a bunch of times on it. Our friend Chloe, we talked a lot about, she was really excited for it, and I wasn't so excited for it. And I kept talking myself out of it for some reason. But as soon as I got my notification through, I was like, oh, well, it's now or never, really, isn't it? 2 weeks before it became available to the public, but whatever. So I'm really glad I got it. I've played just so many games on it since it came out. I'm actually just going to check the list because I'm gonna forget them all. But I've been playing. I've tried to sort of go through my backlog instead of picking up new games, because I've been a PC gamer for a while, probably about 12 years, I guess. Jumping from sort of laptops to PCs to all sorts of things. And I've just amassed over that time through like Humble Bundles, Humble Monthly, Steam sales, all these things. I've amassed about 300 games, and I've probably only,
Oh my god.
Played I've probably only played like 10% of that, if that. So
it's really easy to
it was great
to like get in the habit of just like buying games when they're on sale, and I get in trouble with that, and I never end up playing them. So I'm now in the mindset of if there's a game I know I'm going to play and actively want to play, if it's on sale, then fine. If not, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, like when you see just like a load of those sort of older AAA titles that you're like, oh, I liked that, or I wanted to play that, and you see it's like £3. You're like, oh, I'll just get it for the future. You never know, but that quickly builds up to sort of 10, 15 games, and you've spent as much on those as you would have done if you just bought one game that you knew you were going to play. I've had to recently really curb myself to sort of not getting anything. Not getting anything unless it's like it's new and it's out now, and I'm going to sort of get it now and play it now instead of just getting something for the future. So I started off on my Steam Deck. I wasn't really playing it for a little while because I was trying to finish off Xenoblade, and in that time I was sort of tinkering with it and trying out the emulation and things like that. And I found myself getting really frustrated because I wasn't playing by the rules of like EmuDeck. I wasn't just putting the games in the folder that was given to me, and I wasn't then like going through Steam or Manager, whatever, I was just trying to go a long way around. I was trying to transfer them from my computer instead of just downloading them straight away. I was getting really sort of frustrated with it. Didn't want to touch it. Then I played through Grime on it, which is a Metrovania game that I've been waiting for to come to Switch. And I thought, well, it's £15 on Steam. I'll just get it there instead. And I, suddenly had that feeling again of like on the Switch of 10 minutes here, turn it off, whatever. 10 minutes there, turn it off, play for an hour. Then I decided to go back into the emulation and do what EmuDeck wanted me to do. And then it just sort of clicked. And I've just been sort of played Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 3, Inside, Soul Reaver, Little Nightmares 2, Blood Omen, Scorn. Been playing loads of Vampire Survivors, as we talked about on the Flip Screen Games podcast. And most of those games are sort of native. You just open up Steam and you play them.
Yeah.
But some of them have required a bit more tinkering, and that's actually been quite fun. I've never used Linux before, other than when I was trying to set up a Raspberry Pi, and the whole open up the console, you type in $sudo whatever, you type in what you need, you hope you typed it right. That the idea of a Linux-based system has always scared me because of that.
You've never used a Linux system with a GUI with that?
Never, no. Only ever just like you literally put the most basic thing on an SD card, and you just type into the console and hope that it worked, basically.
Okay.
And I'm very impressed with the experience on the Steam Deck in terms of using Linux as a GUI and how it's set up as the to look more like Windows and function more like Windows, and how great the Discover Store is. And it's just really like brought me around, and I've really sort of completely come back around and gone, well, maybe I could now have like a Linux partition of my system. Maybe I could boot into Linux on my computer sometime.
Wow. I've only ever used Unix-based systems, either Mac or Linux. I've never really dabbled with Windows. I hate it. Okay. I absolutely hate Windows.
Interesting. What is it? Because it's just so too user-friendly for you? Is that it?
No, well, I like to be able to get in there and tinker, and I'm used to the things that Linux presents me and the commands I type in. CD to change directory instead of whatever Windows uses. They're all different, and it's like it's learning something new. Windows now has a Linux subsystem you can install. You can install Ubuntu in order to do all of that stuff if you want to, which is really cool. But Steam Deck has been lovely to tinker and play with, and like I'm getting into the homebrew side of things, and it's been fun. Like I really enjoy that side of stuff. Pete, on the other hand, hates it. And if anyone's listened to the podcast before, they'll know Pete's the kind of guy that just wants to get in there and just press a button and it works. And you can do that, right, in the gaming mode. If you want to dig deeper, you can do. I'm interested, what are some of the games you've had to tinker with? Are they games that are not on Steam, or are they games that said they weren't compatible and maybe you needed to change to Proton GE or something like that?
A little bit of a mix, actually. So a lot of the Legacy of Kain games, and also I started playing Psychonauts as well, the original Psychonauts. They are on Steam. I've had them on Steam. I've had them working on PC to varying success, but because they're so old, like they don't accept controllers, or they just sort of don't work, and Steam has said they're unsupported. But yeah, a lot of that is you use Proton GE, and some of them sort of work, and I've found the community control schemes have been endlessly helpful in getting anything to work. Like these games that just have mouse and keyboard controls and I would have to spend ages trying to work out which buttons which, map them all out, so I know what I'm doing, mapping the thumbstick to work. People have done that for you, and that's just such an underrated feature.
Oh yeah, the controller configs are like a lifesaver. They really are.
For like most games as well. So the one I actually had to properly tinker with was Legacy of Kain Blood Omen. It came out on GOG last year. It was a sort of PS1 game that had a PC launch a little while after, but back in 1997. I've played it on PSP a couple of times, tried to sort of get somewhere with it. Never sort of did. And when I tried to boot it, it was just crashing and crashing. So I had to go into desktop mode. I had to get the right version of Proton. I had to download some mods for it. I had to get some extra files and mess with the wine settings and stuff like that. And it worked really well. It just, as soon as it works, and you don't have to tinker any further. I think that's what's so good about a system like this, is that they don't have to make a game playable on Steam Deck because a lot of the time you can do it yourself, unless there's something like a server-side anti-cheat, which is why things like Genshin won't work, Fortnite won't work, etc.
You can
You
get
can
around
essentially,
Genshin if you disable the anti-cheat, but they probably will ban your account. You can play Genshin
yeah,
on Steam Deck.
interesting. Well, I'm not going to because I had to write a guide about Genshin yesterday, and I have no idea what is happening in that game. So
No, me neither.
fine.
But I kind of want to try it just to see if you will get banned for turning off anti-cheat.
Yeah, if you're not going to play it, then you might as well
Yeah,
test it.
I have noticed that. It's not
Yeah,
like I'm not one
why
of these
not?
whales that has spent thousands of pounds on, I don't know what you even buy in that game. Coins?
No
Gems?
idea. Throw yourself on the fire so other people don't have to, Steve. That's just bravery. Be a martyr. What else was I going to say? In fact, where are we in the questions here? I've been rambling for a long time.
So,
I don't know.
your overall impressions. I know you've plugged it in docked mode.
Hmm.
Is there anything outside of just playing games you've done on it? Obviously, you've done emulation. Have you tried any of like the game streaming stuff or using it as a PC?
I had a bright idea to use it as a streaming device, both here at home when we were in our Airbnb in Edinburgh. But I kept having the same issue where every time I sort of hooked it up and wanted to match the displays, they would go like vertical. And then I
Okay.
had to. It took me a little while to work out how to fix it back in on the Steam Deck thing. So I think if I was to do any research, I think it'd be capable of that. And I actually had to use it to, because when you take a screenshot of a game in an emulator, because that game doesn't exist in the Steam library, you can't read the screenshots. So I've had to tinker around with like, okay, I'll tweet the pictures from the Steam Deck, and that's been because I don't have like a USB mouse and keyboard, so I'm doing everything with the thumbsticks and the on screen keyboard, and it's just been a bit of a mess that way. But no, I don't think it's ever going to replace a computer for me. I think the fact that it doesn't have a kickstand, you'd have to take a kickstand with you. The fact that you'd have to sort of bring a little USB mouse and keyboard or whatever.
Well,
Like,
the idea is you'd bring the little Steam Deck dock with you, right? It's a tiny little device, and you'd bring that. And if you've got a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, they'll connect, no problem. You could get one
yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah,
ones like the little foldy ones, that have the trackpad built in, and that'll be
yeah.
perfectly
I've seen
adequate
those
for.
ones. I was gonna get one, but I don't know if it's it didn't review that well basically. From what I saw, the one that I was looking at anyway. Um, Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like instead of taking a device like a laptop around with you, you're taking 4 or 5 things. But I guess if I ever needed to have a laptop, the Steam Deck would do that in a way. If I needed to quickly type something out for work and my phone wasn't doing it for me, I could do it on the Steam Deck
Yeah,
instead. I don't think it's going to, for me, become a multimedia device or anything like that. I think it is going to, because everything I can do on that, I can do on my phone. YouTube, I can do it so much quicker than going into desktop mode, opening Chrome with my finger, typing it in, finding the video. I could literally just go on my phone and click on it. There's an app there waiting for me. Maybe if they were to sort of do apps in Steam, similar to how the Switch has
you
YouTube
can buy you
and
can get some apps in Steam. OBS, I think, is on the Steam store. Like there are some things
yeah, but
you can
I'm talking
download.
about like as in like Netflix, YouTube, like media streaming as a consumer, not as a stream.
I mean, those things are
Um,
possible already because you can add icons as like for bookmarks in Chrome or whatever to the store. There should be a way to do that like a lot simpler. I'll admit that and you can also you can emulate Android if you wanted to, but these are all things that go way
mm,
outside of the scope of what the Steam Deck was designed for, which ultimately is playing games. And the fact that
yeah,
it's got a PC underneath it to be able to do all of this tinkering stuff, I think is really cool. And you
yeah, I
can
think I
really
agree.
it
Yeah,
really extends, I think, the possibilities of what the Steam Deck can do because you're not restricted just to the Steam store. If there are games on
yes,
other
yeah.
stores, you can do. Like we were talking off mic. I've just signed up to the Humble Choice for this month because I wanted to get Deathloop on Steam, and I wanted to try out Signalis, which uses their new Humble Collection app, which is only for Windows, but you can install it through Lutris. Bit of a pain in order to be able to log into the thing. But once you manage to get it up and running, you can just add that as a non-Steam game to Steam, and then you just launch all the games from within there, and it functions absolutely fine. So I'm probably going to be playing through Signalis this month on that. And I'm going to be working on a video at some point talking about how you can get all of these non-Steam stores and non-Steam games on your Steam Deck in a really good way, because the best way I've found is Heroic or Lutris. Heroic is
Heroic's
probably
been
the
great.
best
Yeah.
way. Like, it's easy peasy to install from GOG or from Epic. I think they're expanding the stores further out, and it'll also, and then you can use Boiler to import things from Lutris or from Bottles if you've installed things manually. Because I've installed a few abandonware games as well that aren't for sale anywhere else. Like, there's this version of Monopoly I used to play when I was a kid from Westwood. It's like from 1995, this game. And it's my favorite version of Monopoly. It's not available for sale anywhere else, probably because of all the licensing reasons, right? It's Monopoly. But I love it, and I can install it on the Steam Deck through Bottles and all of this like community software, which is really, really awesome.
Well, I might have to speak to you then, because I downloaded the Saw game, managed to mount the ISO in desktop mode, and I tried to add the launcher, which I assume is the installer, to Steam. But every time I click on it, it won't work. And I've tried all the different Proton versions. I've tried GE Experimental, all the
You'll
different
need to
ones that I thought
install
would
the
work, and
game.
nothing has worked.
Yeah, you'll probably need to install the game first through Bottles. Is probably the best thing.
Okay.
Install
Okay,
the
there we go.
game to
Interesting.
Bottles, and then you can add a shortcut to Steam from Bottles, which works really well. Or you can use
Excellent.
Boiler if you want it to find all the images and things for you, which is really nice. But
I've been doing the images manually, which has been a pain. So it's nice to know that there's something that lets you
Boiler
do it.
Boiler will connect to Steam Grid DB. You need to get an API key from your
Right.
Steam Grid DB account. But once it's done that, it'll use the title and just search for Steam search, and you can just select which
great.
images you want. It's really, really cool. So I'll be doing a video on
The
that.
Steam Manager.
Sorry, it's like Steam ROM
Sorry,
Manager
I just
pretty
said-
much. Yeah.
Yeah, that one has had issues though, where it thinks that one game is another game, and I'm loading up. It thought that ICO was something called Iconic, and it was giving me these weird images, and it thought that the Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube was Echoes of Time or Echoes of Fate, whichever one it is, on the DS. So it just kept giving me all this weird artwork, and it was a bit annoying, but I managed to do it all manually, and hopefully an update to EmuDeck doesn't break it again like it did the last time I updated.
Fingers crossed. Before we move on to the news, is there anything else you want to talk about on your experiences with the Steam Deck? Or I know you wanted to talk about things that potentially you would change about it.
Maybe we should, if that's probably a large topic that we can cover, you can have me on again, just invite myself back on. Maybe we can discuss that in a further thing. What I would like to say is that you should all be playing Prime Hack, and you should all be playing the Metroid Prime trilogy in the best way that it's ever been played, because I was blown away by how easy it was to set up, how well it worked, and how they've managed to sort of make some changes and things to the actual game that like the controller icons, and instead of having to hold a button and point at an icon to change your map, that you just on the D-pad. Like, I don't know how they've done this stuff. They've modded the game out so well. Nintendo seem to have no interest in releasing it on the Switch, and this is just the best version of Metroid Prime, and you should all be playing it.
Have you installed the HD texture pack as well?
I think it comes in Prime Hack, doesn't it?
I don't know. Maybe it does. I thought you had to still install that one manually, but I might be mistaken.
I'll have to double check that. I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm gonna look at this because I thought it came in.
I remember it looking pretty good, so you're probably right when I booted it up, because I did a video about Dolphin optimization.
Yes.
And
I saw that.
It looks really stunning, and performance-wise, amazing. Like, really, really
that is
solid.
The only game that when I plugged it into my TV and started messing around with the TV stuff, that's the only game that I was like, there's no compromise here. That I'm not having a sort of a chuggy frame rate. I'm not having like a stretched image. I'm not having like when I tried to do Wii U emulation, because I'm missing buttons, because the Steam Deck has these extra buttons that other controllers don't have. I can't swap to the Wii U gamepad screen, for example. So like Metroid Prime,
you can.
I'm sure the game
swap. There's like EmuDeck provides shortcuts to do it. I think it's like one of the back buttons. It swaps the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I'm on the but on the TV.
Ah, right. Okay.
I don't have those buttons. I've only got the buttons that I've got. And
what you need is to get yourself an Xbox Elite controller, and then you've got those back paddles.
I just traded in my Elite controller for this, and I regret it now. But that's fine. This is Bluetooth and just works straight away with the Steam Deck.
Yeah. Maybe you just have to add a Series 2 Elite controller to your Christmas list.
I mean, maybe, yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive. The core
Oh
model's
yeah,
not that bad, but then you've got to add the paddles, and so then it just comes up to the same
yeah,
price anyway. So
yeah.
yeah, or a Steam controller, which if you want to hear my experiences with that, then you can listen to the last episode. But I'm gonna be playing some more with that. It's okay so far. It's okay.
Yeah, I just think bring on Steam Controller 2. Bring on
I
back
agree.
pads, bring
Yeah,
on back buttons.
yeah. There's two back buttons on that one, but it's still not enough. I still need two
Yeah.
more. But yeah, so we had some news this week that some of it broke today, which was Steam Deck's UI is replacing Big Picture mode in Steam. So if you download
Thank
the beta
God.
version of the client, you can sign up and you put a flag in, and you can basically access what is internally known as GamepadUI, and it replaces the Big Picture mode, which is really really cool.
Thank God. Like, so where I've been swapping between PC and Steam Deck for things like Resident Evil and stuff that might benefit from being on a big screen, and also just Steam Deck needs to charge sometimes. PC doesn't, so that's fine. Using big picture mode again has been painful. It it's just so low res. There's just so many to get from in a game to back out to quit. It's like 6 different button presses. It's ridiculous and it's so outdated. And I can see why if that was what they were running the Steam machines on, why that might not have been a good
Yeah, I
idea
mean
for people. Why
The
people
Steam
didn't go
machines
with
were
it
a
that way.
very long time ago at this point. I mean that was what,
Yeah.
7 years?
Yes, it was. It was a while ago now. So yeah, I'm really glad they've updated because I was, when you put the Steam Deck onto a TV, it feels like a a nice game UI. And where I've done some of the Decky plugins, I should say, I'd messed around with the CSS. Having that on the screen where it's the icons are centered and you don't have that bar at the bottom that has all the useless information about the games and stuff. Like it just feels like using a native. It just feels like using a Switch, and I like that. That element of it, but having that on the TV. So if I'm, generally I'll turn my computer on, I'll log in, I'll sit on my bed, and I'll get my controller out. Anytime I have to get up and then click on something is an inconvenience to me. So being able to just have a nice looking UI that acts like a console, because that's what my PC mostly is. If I'm not working at it, if I'm gaming on it, I want it to function like a console.
Yeah.
Big picture mode doesn't do that for me in that way, but the Steam UI does. Steam Deck UI, I should say, does. So very looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm glad it's finally broken out of the Steam Deck. There's still some weird quirks, like the quick access menu can be tricky to get to if you don't know how to. It's actually Control 2 is the key shortcut to access the quick access menu. If you want to access the Steam button menu, it's Control 1. Or if you're using a
And if you want to do that on
controller,
a
it's
controller,
mapped. It's mapped exactly the same as it is on Steam Deck with the hold down the Nexus button or the PlayStation button and press A. And then
perfect.
that will do it. So it works phenomenally from what I've heard from some friends. It can be a bit laggy on some operating systems that don't support OpenGL like acceleration, because essentially the Steam Deck UI is just a Chrome browser that runs a React web page, and that's all it is. So it's just a web browser that's open. So you kind of need a machine that can hardware accelerate that, but it seems to run well. I'm really excited about what this means for Steam Deck competitors and competition at this point, because up until now Steam Deck has been the reigning champion in terms of UI, at least in my opinion. I know INEO are working on their INEO OS, and there are some like GPD. I think had something in their GPD Win that they had their own interface that you could tap into. But the fact that now you have this native interface directly from Steam, I need to double check if GameScope's included in that, because if it is, that would be amazing. The fact that you'll be able to potentially do the like capping of frame rates with the VSync support. I know Decky works if you're running on a Linux-based system. You can run Decky with all of the plugins inside the Steam Deck UI on your desktop, which is really cool. But I think it's great, and I love the fact that Valve is so open about it. Obviously, it benefits them because you're still using Steam, but it does open up the possibility for competitors to just use their interface at this point.
It's great to see someone release something like the Steam Deck OS And unlike when the sort of the Switch OS was first revealed or first came out, and it was like, oh, this is obviously just a version 1. It's going to look totally different in 5 years' time. And here we are, 5 years later, and it looks almost identical. Maybe one extra button. Functionality is exactly the same. Steam Deck's been out what, a year at this point, and it's, they've just added so many features, they've added so many improvements. They're just constantly updating it, and it's a big part of the user experience is in the menus. It's not all about being in the games. And SteamOS Steam Deck OS, I should say, has smashed it. And yeah, I'm very excited for, like you say, what this means for competitors, what they're going to do. Because what's put me off from handheld PCs before has been that time to run a game, and it's like turning on a computer. It's going to the,
Yeah.
it's using the
You've got to
trackpad to find
manually
the
boot up Steam and
button.
find it.
Yeah,
I mean, that and the cost involved with those machines. Like, that's one
yeah, they were
thing
so
that
expensive.
Valve's not ever going to be beaten on, I don't think, is price, because I
Yeah,
think they're running this at either a break even or a small loss on each of the units that they sell, and they're making it
yeah, I'd
up
assume a loss.
in software sales, because that price is phenomenal when you compare it to something like an Iron EO, which doesn't even really come close in terms of performance. It's night and day. Like, you're looking at spending over £1,000 to get an Iron EO Pro if you want to bump it up and get somewhere close
Yeah.
to the level of performance that you get from a Steam Deck. But yeah,
And
this
you can also compare it to like the new Razer Edge. That was sort of touted for some people. They were saying, "Oh, could
yeah.
it be like a Steam Deck competitor?" And not only is it not that, it's an Android phone with that doesn't, an Android phone that isn't actually a phone, that doesn't have that has controllers on the side. It also,
Well, the controllers aren't even on the side. It's basically just a Razer key sheet that comes with it. So it
yeah,
literally is
yeah,
like an Android phone. You can take the key sheet, like you can take the tablet section out, and it's like, what is the
yeah.
point? We've already all got a phone anyway.
hmm But the thing is that system is the same price as the basic Steam Deck. It's Um, why would you go for that option that is mostly going to be for streaming games when the Steam Deck does that? Maybe surely you might have to tinker a little bit more to get things like xCloud working, but there's videos like yours that show you how to do it in 10 minutes. I got Chiaki working in a matter of minutes, quicker than it took you to explain on the video. I had it working, and the only issue I had is that my internal network's rubbish. So I was like, hey, that doesn't really work for me. But if you're the kind of person that's buying this Razer product, surely you already your network's good. That's why you're buying it. So why would you not just get the Steam Deck and have the native games and have the emulation and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's I don't understand the point of that device or the Logitech device that we spoke about a few episodes back.
Yeah,
Both of those just seem so overpriced. And if you're looking for like an emulation machine, those, like especially the Logitech one, it's so underpowered. It can't do anything higher than N64 emulation. You can get something like a Retroid Pocket that will do the exact same thing. It's a dedicated
yeah.
device. It's a lot cheaper. Granted, it doesn't do the cloud streaming, but do you really care about that anyway? Because you can do that on your phone if you really wanted to. I mean, maybe some people specifically do want to be able to do that, but I've had nothing but a bad experience when it comes to xCloud. It's
Mm.
laggy. It's not worked well for me, and that could just be because my internet sucks. I'm probably in the same boat as you, that my network internally is okay because my house is fairly small and I've got a decent router, but when it comes to the internet coming into my house, it's not great, and I can't really stream anything from it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just odd that that's what they're focusing on when the Steam Deck has been such a smash hit. But then again, that must also come down to the fact that Valve are willing to take a hit on that price wise. Razer, you know what Razer's like. They're not willing to take a hit on a price when they can make it green and whack up the price a little bit. I'm being reductive here, but um, they're not going to release a device that's as good as the Steam Deck for the same price as the Steam Deck. And devices like that exist. The Steam Deck is doing well for a reason.
Yeah, agreed. Well, alongside the big picture UI, it looks like they are also prepping for SteamOS to get an installer finally. So some people were digging around as they do, and Steam Deck HQ were reporting that the software, it's called SteamOS Media Creation, has been found on Valve's public repositories. And this is just a little window that pops up, asks you to provide an image to the operating system, and it will walk you through the process of creating an image that you can then use to install SteamOS either on a partition on another machine or just as your entire operating system. Similar to how you would download like an ISO of Windows and then you would go ahead and install that on another machine. So it looks like the work is in progress. The app doesn't function at the moment, but they're obviously making steps towards that, and it's really nice to see, because I'm ready to run SteamOS on another device at this point and see what else you can really eke out of it, because I'm constantly impressed with what Proton delivers, and sometimes I feel like it's probably going to outweigh what you can get running natively on Windows. I know games like Elden Ring, for example, really benefited from some of the work that Valve did with Proton, and I'm sure that's not the only example. I'm sure there are other cases as well.
Yeah, if you could take what you can do in SteamOS, and if you can take how simple a lot of this stuff is, and put some more power behind it, you might be able to get like you might be able to build yourself like a small gaming computer that never touches Windows. You just install that on it, and like a Steam machine, I guess. Where you've built yourself a little computer that, like, you can get those little compact ones where everything is neatly folded in together and it's all sort of one little unit. Put the SteamOS on that. And
I
you've got yourself a
genuinely would
little.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like a 1660 Super or something in there. A decent graphics, a decent graphics card will way outperform what you can get on the Steam Deck. But it would be so cool, wouldn't it? And I really want to see Valve actually expand into doing Steam machines again at some point. I don't want them to get third parties to do it. I just want a tiny little box that you can plug into your TV that's a little bit more powerful, that can potentially hook up to like a Valve Index, so I can get the full Steam experience on my TV.
yeah. I think you could go the Mac route where there's one device and you choose what's inside it at the point of buying. That's probably going to make it more expensive in the long run. But because of this new, this SteamOS imaging thing, it's probably going to be entirely possible to just do it yourself with your own
Oh yeah, you absolutely will be able to. I mean, and people have been able
Yeah.
to do this anyway, because they've extracted the images from the Steam Deck itself, and they're calling it Hollow Image, and you can use that and you can install it on other devices, and people have been doing that. But it's not officially supported. Obviously,
Yeah.
things are probably going to break. Alongside the official installer, Valve has also promised that that's the point when we get official support for dual booting Windows on the Steam Deck as well, which is also really exciting, because up until now you've been able to boot it from a micro SD card if you know how to do it, or if you follow a tutorial. But it's not been an easy process. It's quite long, it's quite arduous. Whereas hopefully what you'll be able to do is open up the SteamOS installer and say, I want to install Windows, and that will allow you to create a separate partition on your drive. You can install Windows to that, and then when you boot, you hold down, I think it's the power and the minus key, and that brings you up into the kind of boot manager, and you can choose, do you want to go into SteamOS or do you want to go into Windows? And so for the games or the apps that just can't run on Proton at the moment, you do have the option of going into Windows. So say, for example, like something like Genshin Impact, if you didn't want to risk getting banned by disabling anti-cheat, you could boot into Windows and play that just one specific game.
Yeah, for me, I was tempted to pull the trigger and do it myself when I spent ages downloading the Battle.net installer, just adding it as a Steam game, running it, getting it all working, wait an hour for Overwatch 2 to install, probably not an hour, exaggerating. Wait for Overwatch 2 to install, boot it up, and it's working, and then like 3 minutes later, it freezes, doesn't crash, just freezes, and you have to sort of back out of it. And I've looked it up, and all of the advice has been install Windows, just install Windows and run it on there. And it just seems like something I don't want to do. So if it was a supported thing and I could just do it without having to sort of go through messing around with things and possibly buggering things up, I'd be glad to do that. In fact, I need to speak to you at some point. Remind me. I need to know how you install not Proton, but Wine Proton, not GE Proton. Sorry. Why? I need to.
Why do you need to install Wine?
No. So when the latest version of Proton GE came out, 38 or whatever, in the patch notes it said added support for Overwatch 2, or added the fix for Overwatch 2 shader creation, which is what was causing the crash. But then it said underneath it, Proton isn't meant for running. Don't use Proton to run Overwatch. Use Wine, blah blah blah. It was in the patch notes. I tried looking it up. Couldn't work out how to do it myself.
How were you installing it? What app did you use to install the Battle.net installer?
I just installed it. I used Proton to set it up.
Use something like Bottles or Lutris. In fact,
Okay.
Lutris, I think, probably has an installer built in. You just search for battle.net and it will probably come up. And then at that point, what you would do is you can select what you want to run it on. By default, Lutris will use Wine. Let me have a
Then
look. I'm sure
we're good.
there's a battle.net installer. Yeah, there is. So
Is Lutris a Flatpak?
yeah, Lutris is a Flatpak. There is an issue, and I'll tell you, but there's like a command line you might need to run. But you can install battle.net through Lutris. There's official support for it. And you just click install, and then it will walk you through it. And then from there, you select which game you wanna install and which game you want to play.
Yeah.
So Lutris is a really good tool to use. It has its problems. I prefer Heroic over Lutris, but there are pros and cons. Lutris supports a lot more things. But you know, try both if you and see which one works best for you. But give Lutris a go.
Sponsored by Lutris. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Sorry for the handbrake there.
I will sponsor Lutris because it's incredible. It's open source software, so it's like
you have to give it props where it's needed, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you find it helpful, they've got a Patreon, so go and support them. So the next thing on the news ticket this week was something that I guess I found, and that was a hidden settings menu in the Steam Deck on the latest preview build, and it was a customization menu. So I was faffing around with Decky. I'm building a new plugin at the moment, which I won't spoil, but I'm having a good time with it. And there's a developer mode in Decky that allows you to enable a Valve internal flag, so that the Steam Deck thinks you've got a Valve email address. And when you turn that on, a bunch of hidden stuff appears around the operating system. One of them is an internal menu, which is designed for development purposes. There's something called the Zoo in there, which allows you to play with all of the UI elements, which is really fun. But don't mess around in that if you don't know what you're doing. But there was a new menu that was found called Customization. And from there, it says that you can install startup movies. I don't know why they're calling them movies. Startup movies from the points shop. So I can finally spend my 113,000 points on something. And I'm quite excited about that.
They call it startup movies because they're going to have the whole of Morbius on there, and you have to watch it every time you want to turn your Steam Deck on. That's why they call it movies.
Not Shrek. That seems to be what everyone wants. Is Shrek.
Oh yeah, no, I saw Shrek now. Morbius. I'm bringing back I say old. It was this year somehow. Memes. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've got all of these Steam points. Buying the Steam Deck just filled me with Steam points. And I was like, I'll buy a couple of keyboards and I'll buy this. And I was like, there's no chance.
The keyboard themes are so boring as well. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I agree with you. While I don't give a... do we swear on this one? Do we swear on flip screen games stuff? Yeah. While I don't give a shit about startup movies because why? Who cares, man? Who cares?
Well, that hurts, Max. I made a whole plugin that helps you install these things.
And I'm sure the people that want that were very, very happy that you did that. Sadly, that's not me. I'll be very happy when you do my icon resizing plugin. That'll be really happy with that one. But I'm very excited about the prospects of having more customization options, where even if it's just like, themes or even just like being able to buy like icons and color schemes and stuff like that let you make the Steam Deck yours.
That would be cool. Like, I can imagine them probably going deep into Valve nostalgia. I can imagine we'll probably get stuff like a GLaDOS boot up screen and some Portal theme stuff, some Half-Life stuff, maybe some Dota
bundling
stuff in
themes. Yeah, like if you could bundle a theme, I would buy a Portal theme that might maybe as you move between the games on the home screen, you go between the two portals.
Yeah, that would be cool. But there's like themes you can get for your profile, right? Because I know someone in the community's got a Cult of the Lamb profile theme. It would be really cool if they let developers do that and let developers kind of allow you to spend your points, or maybe you get that as like a pre-order bonus or when you buy the game. That would be really cool. Like being able to just have something that's exclusive. If you've bought the game through Steam, you can actually experience themes and things. Like that was going to be one of my questions. Like, where would you like this to go? Because I'm actually with you. I played around with the custom boot animations for a while, and I was just like, yeah, this was cool. But like, how often do you actually restart your Steam Deck? You like put it to
Yeah, I mean,
sleep, and when you turn it back on, it's awake.
yeah. Every time I enter and exit desktop mode, maybe I'll see it quite a lot. But I'm also looking away at that point. I am looking at my phone, or I'm watching something on the TV, or I'm talking to someone. Like I'm not intently staring at the screen, going, "I really wish that boot up animation went through all the different handheld consoles and then became the Steam Deck." Like some of them are clever, some of them are interesting. Maybe just to watch as gifs on Reddit once. Not to mess around with this. The not that you have to mess around anymore if it's this simple. And maybe if it is that simple, and I'm like, oh, cool, this cool GLaDOS
It's
opening
already
screen where
crazy
it.
simple, Max. Download Animation Changer from Decky and just go to the store on there. There's hundreds of them, and you just click and download, and applies it immediately.
I knew you'd be. I gave you a chance to be plug-in your plug-in there. So
Yeah, it's a good plugin.
officially supported then. Officially supported. Not that I'm above thinking about with the Steam Deck. Some of this I've been messing around with the CSS stuff that you
You know,
can do in
I,
that. And
I do wish all of that stuff was officially supported, though. Like, I do wish animations were officially supported through the Point Store. I do wish there was a way to apply custom themes officially supported. Because every time there's an update, Decky's suffered with this the last week or so. It breaks everything. Like the preview build,
yeah,
Decky was broken on it for a while. It would be great to have it officially supported, so you can like inject your own CSS files if you want to, or buy one from the Point shop, because you can actually do that on the Steam,
yeah,
the desktop Steam client. There are themes
yes,
on there. It would be cool if they extended that over, especially considering the Steam Deck UI is now available on desktop, to extend those themes over to the
yeah.
new UI.
It's I think any kind of a customization option. More options is always a good thing. There's never been a bad UI option. Maybe a feature might be wrong or something you're forced to do, but an option is never a bad thing. So to have all of these, to have these things be officially supported, it would be great. And I'd be very interested to see, like you say, if they do hand out to developers. And it'd be very interesting to see like when I don't know, Returnal or Bloodborne gets released on PC, for example, in a year's time, and this might be a feature by then. Are Sony going to go, well, we have these themes on the PlayStation. Why don't we do like a Bloodborne
Do they just
Steam
do
Deck
themes on
theme?
PS5? I thought they
Yeah.
hadn't introduced those yet.
No, it's probably PS4 I'm thinking of then.
Yeah,
No, yeah, good
PS5
one.
is
So,
still
yeah,
like boring as hell. Like the Nintendo Switch has
yeah,
two themes, light and dark. It's just like, seriously?
awful stuff. But these are also things that I've never. It'd be nice on the Switch. I'd like that, but it's never hurt my experience at the Switch to like
No, mine
not turn it
neither.
on and have a picture area behind it. But it's something that would be nice.
People like customizing,
Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's a reason that on your computer you can change your desktop picture, because if everything was
yeah,
the same, it would be really boring.
yeah,
And I know that's something that Android people have really been able to experience for a very long time, and iOS is still pretty locked down. It looks like how Apple wants it, and it's nice to be able to customize it and have it feel unique and fresh and your own, and you can put things where you want them in their own place.
yeah.
And if Valve does extend the customization, which I think they will, because the fact that the tab is called customization and not startup movie, I think indicates that probably the keyboard themes are going to move into there, and we'll probably also start to see other things, because on the Point Shop they've also changed the name from keyboards to Steam Deck items. So I do think we'll probably start seeing a few more things in there, and whether that is just startup movies to begin with, and then they extend it out later on. I think it's nice. Like you say, choices are always a good thing to have.
Yeah, I agree.
What's one thing aside from themes and customization options like that you would love to be able to spend your points on? For me, the number one thing I want to be able to transfer my points into is discounts, like I can do on
Yeah,
my Nintendo Switch.
yeah. I was when I mean haven't really or hadn't touched PC gaming properly for a little while. So when I bought my Steam Deck and it said, "Oh, you've got your Steam points," and I was like, "I have Steam points," and I looked further into it, and I was like, "I have all these Steam points to spend," and I got the Near Automata Steam's the profile theme and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, maybe this is like the gold coin. Maybe I can turn this into. But no, it's just for customization. I think there's nothing I'd want more than that. However, I also feel like Steam is cheap enough that it doesn't maybe doesn't need that.
Yeah, you're right, and
Um,
and it's unfair of me to ask that. It's kind of me being cheeky because
it's so entitled.
yeah, there's I just don't know what else I would spend them on. I find
No.
that those Steam points and also like the collectible trading things, like I've never
Yeah,
really
I've never
engaged with
touched that.
any of it. It's just like I'm sure there are people
No.
out there that have, but it's like I've got 113,000 points, and like I think the most expensive thing on the store is like 2,000.
Yeah, you're never going to spend it. I mean, it could be that maybe when they do this, they try and normalize the economy of it, and say that a pack of themes isn't 2,000, it's 10,000, for example, and you're having to spend more because you have so many. But also, it could just be that because you have so many, you just get to enjoy the freedom of being able to pick whatever you want, and eventually, effectively, it becomes like a free for all for a while until you spend them all. But still,
I could see that.
I
Yeah, I
can't
mean, it
I
kind of
can't
feels
think of any.
pointless at like that stage. It's just like, why did you make them behind a points system if
Yeah,
everyone who bought a Steam Deck got given like 50,000 points? What was the
yeah.
point in that?
The points have no value, right? So, in fact, that's a good point. The points have no value. So to add a customization tab and have all these customization options be locked behind a points system is odd. But I guess what it does is incentivizes you to buy from Steam and not do what I do, which is often go to CD keys, find that game for cheaper, and just buy the Steam code.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that similar to the Switch online stuff, those gold coins are supposed to incentivize you buying on the eShop as opposed to buying a game secondhand or even just buying new. You get more for buying a physical game new. No, you don't. That's a lie. But still, you get them for buying a physical game new. You don't get them for buying secondhand. And I think that it's more about incentivizing you maybe to just buy on the Steam store. It could even be that we see that it's not just Steam coins; they have premium ones that are real money.
Or
But who
maybe you
knows?
buy points with actual money if you run out or something. I don't know. It'd be
Yeah,
interesting to see. I would imagine we're probably a week or two out at this point. They're refining up the preview build as we speak. They've constantly squashing bugs. So the pace at which Valve manages to release software never fails to astound me. Like they honestly, it feels like we wait months and months and months for a PlayStation update, and they add folders.
yeah.
And like the amount of stuff that Valve's added since February.
Stabilization. It feels like it does feel a bit like the Steam client hasn't been touched in a while, but maybe that's just because I haven't played it in a while.
No, it
I don't
hasn't.
regularly go on
But
the
I
Steam client
think,
and see new features.
yeah,
This, however, is, and it's great.
yeah,
I
and
was
I
worried when
think
this.
they got complacent, or they were really busy with the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck
Mhm.
UI, right? But I feel like they're slowly moving everything over. We've got the new UI coming to big picture mode. I think after that, it kind of makes sense for them to make the store look like the store looks like on the Steam Deck on the actual native Steam client. I could see them
Yeah,
tidying that up. I don't think it needs a complete rewrite. It just needs a UI refresh at this point. Make everything look a little bit, I don't know, nicer. It's just everything's a bit
yeah,
clumsy and squashed and close together. And the Mac client was trash. And I think even on Linux it said, "Do you want to add a start menu shortcut?" I think it still does when you install something. It's just like we don't have start menus on Linux or on the Mac, so it's
yeah.
just like, why is that still in there? And it just shows a lack of care and attention. But I do think that they are showing that they do have the ability to show that care and attention on the Steam Deck.
Yep. And I guess it's one of those things that we're just going to be in a year's time when I inevitably come back on. We're going to be having a completely different discussion about a completely different looking piece of software, probably at that point. Or does that be firmware? I don't know. Um, yeah, it's evolving at a rate that no other system is, and it's got me enthusiastic about the future of it. Whereas usually with Steam products or Valve products, there's always that wariness of like, how long is it going to last? The Steam controller, the Steam machines, they never really properly launched, but they've just dropped so much stuff and focused on being a store again for so long that
Yeah.
when they first announced the Steam Deck, I remember saying, this isn't going to last. But then when I think it was specifically seeing you get yours and talk weekly on Twitter about the features that are coming, and you said, "Oh, I wanted this," and they've done it, or they've increased this or improved this, and I was like, "They're actually doing it." It could also be that they released it earlier or they released it before the UI team or the OS team had managed to catch up, but it
Yeah,
could
but
also
that's
just
no
be that
different to
I
competing
think
products, right? Like the PS5 launched without folders, it launched without SSD support, it launched without VRR,
yeah,
it launched without the ability to use the extendable SSD slot that you couldn't even. There was a piece of hardware that you couldn't access because the software wasn't ready. So I don't think
yeah,
that's any different. I think they picked the right features to cut. The dock didn't ship at launch, and they focused on the handheld mode, and then they've slowly chipped away and improved the docked experience, and they're still doing it, right. They're still
hmm
VRR support still isn't properly in there. It will be at some point. uh it's a work in progress, and I think you have to look past a lot of the issues. The
yeah,
stable channel feels really stable at this point, the OS. And I think people can look past that because the device itself and what it offers is really kind of next level.
yeah.
And not once in a million years would I have thought that I could play the caliber of games I can play on a
Yeah.
handheld when I was a kid. Like,
And as easy as it is as well, the fact that a third party developer or even just like you, someone in your special little bedroom or wherever in this is in your house, can develop something like EmuDeck, for example, that in one click it installs and configures every emulator you could ever want, and then configures all that stuff, right? It's not just the fact that it lets you do these things; it's how easy it is to let someone else do the legwork for you. Um, it's also very impressive.
yeah, well, people are excited
I think
about
I
it,
just
right?
got
It
it.
shows the enthusiasm, the
Yeah.
excitement for the product, the fact that EmuDeck was out within like a month of the Steam Deck being released because people were
hmm
excited about it, and they wanted to be able to play those things on that device, and they could. I
It,
think I
it's the first time I. So I was going to say, I think it's the first time I've been an early adopter and felt like it's paid off because I get
yeah.
to be excited about what's coming instead of when you sort of like with the Switch, I was excited about the games, but everything else about it was just like, oh, there's issues. Oh,
Well, even the
there's
games, right?
drift
It
and
was like I finished Breath of the Wild. What do I play now? I'm just I don't want to. I don't want to go and do another shrine. I guess I'll play snipper clips. What else is on the
you
store?
play
Oh,
fast
nothing.
RMX like the rest of us, and you're happy with
I
it,
played that
Steve.
like geometry machine or whatever it was, like the one of the shapes that you shoot or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah,
Oh,
that was good.
yeah, I remember that one as well. Do you remember when this just to do a bit of Switch nostalgia? Do you remember when people were genuinely excited about Snake Out coming out because it was like a game that was coming to Switch? And then it just came and went within a day because it just wasn't really that great. I don't know. It was a funny time.
Yeah, well, you put anything on there and it like turned to gold, right?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
moment, yeah. But anyway, we'll definitely have to have you back on to talk about the future of the Steam Deck because it definitely seems like it
Love to.
it looks
I've got a
bright.
list.
Yeah,
hmm
it'll be a fun one. Let us know down in the comments. I want to know how many Steam points you have. Is anyone going to beat my record of 113,000? I really want to know. So let me know your number down in the comments. And if you're not watching on YouTube, then hop into our Discord. You can find the link on our website, flipscreen.games. That's where you can find us everywhere on the web, including our Patreon. If you want to support us, that's the best way you can support us. Head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames. Max, before we close out, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Max L Wright.
Awesome. And we shall see you next week, and Pete should be back. So I shall see you all then.
Bye.